What's going on, you guys? In today's video, I'm going to be making Surtur's crown from Thor Ragnarok. Let's check it out. Look at this. Almost 91 hours for this to complete. Boom. That is super, super impressive. CR10 S4.2 millimeter layer height. That was 10% in fill, 5% in fill. I'll have to double check. Man, super happy with how this turned out.
That's a crown.
It's crazy.
I thought it was a
Crazy.
big eyebrow.
It's a crown.
All right, so after everything finished printing, the next thing you're gonna be doing is cleaning up all of the prints. This includes cleaning up all the little nibs and bobs there that might have been stray pieces from the prints. I also used a Dremel to help clean up any of the edges on the prints, just to make them as flush as possible. Next up, I'm gonna use some glue. This is Rapid Fuse. It's supposed to be a really quick drying super glue. It worked okay, but get the job done here, but I very liberally applied this to the print here, lined everything up as best I could to ensure everything was going to dry properly. All right, here's everything put together. It looks pretty good. I was very happy with it. Next up, it's time to take care of those seams. I use some Pro Bond wood filler. This is my go-to for filling any seams on my prints. Stuff works great. Once it dries, which is pretty quick, it's going to be time to sand it. And for this, I just used, I believe this was 120 grit sandpaper. I mean, you can really use just about anything on this and it will clean it up pretty nicely. It's now time to take this outside. I applied some heavy duty primer filler on this prop. I used basically a whole can on the front and back, really heavily coating this with primer filler. I did not want to use XTC3, which is my typical go-to, and I think this turned out pretty good using one full can over the course of this whole thing. Next up, I used some black shoe polish. This is the first time using this here. I wanted a nice dark black gritty effect with this, and I think this worked okay. It was like a liquid black shoe polish. Taking some paper towel and wiping off any excess as I'm going over it. And you can keep continually applying it on top of it. I also use a hair dryer here or heat gun to help quicken the drying process.
When I flushed it, the toilet water came out.
Uh-oh, it did.
It just leaked it, but it's not leaking anymore. But when you flush it, it leaks.
Oh no. Okay.
All right, so after unclogging a toilet, you can apply the Dookie Brown acrylic paint here to the prop. Again, I'm just trying to weather this with a variety of different colors. I used to also use black acrylic paint, and the technique is just to really water it down, apply it, and then brush it off. I then applied some red acrylic paint as well. I just, again, wanted some varying colors throughout this prop, so I applied it in a bunch of different random areas just to get different textures and tones. Lastly, I did use some gold acrylic paint, and I did the dry brush effect of this, which is really just get a very small amount on your brush, wipe it all off, and then start brushing it onto your prop. This is now clear coating, so now that all the paints are in place, I did a heavy coat of clear coat. And I think this looks spectacular.
All right. This next bit is either going to be really friggin' cool or it's going to be really dumb. And by dumb, I mean stupidly dangerous and probably idiotic of me to do at this point. But why not try that and see how it goes? All right, so here is the finished prop. This thing is so cool. I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. I actually ended up screwing up the paint job that I had done on this when trying to do those fire effects that I was doing for the video here, but I was thankfully able to just cover that back up with a little bit of shoe polish and a little bit more paint, and you really can't tell that that ever happened where there was some fire damage done to the actual print. This file was created by JSAlmighty, and it's available over for you to download on my mini factory, and this particular file was scaled up 4,000%, I believe, to get it to be a life-size version that I could print out on my CR10 S4. Just for some comparison, here is the original size version of the crown that I printed over on the PLA Moy in a resin material, and then here is the full scaled up version of this file. I'm absolutely blown away with how well the detail held up on this. The process that I used for actually finishing this was a lot more simplified than what I normally do. I didn't actually apply any sort of XTC 3D or anything like that. I basically just glued the pieces together. So I printed this, the horns separated, the skull itself, I split it horizontally and then just glued everything together, and then used some primer filler and basically just used a ton of primer filler. I was very, very generous with the primer filler application, where I was just coating it on really, really nice and thick. And I think the end results were really, really nice. Again, just used a lot of different techniques, everything from spray paint to actual acrylic paints to shoe polish to get the end results here that you're seeing with this. So I won't go into details on how I did the fire effect, just because there is a large number of kids that watch this channel, and I try to keep this as family friendly as possible. If you are really interested in that, you can very easily find it by just doing some quick searches here on YouTube. I would definitely not recommend setting your prints on fire. As you saw me mention there was some damaged pieces here that I had to end up going off and correcting. Overall, this was an amazing project. Super happy with how this turned out. I cannot wait to have this up on display behind me here. And yeah, if you're interested in printing one of these for yourself, head on over to my mini factory. Check out JSAlmighty and his files that he creates and shares. I'll have links to his social media as well. I just want to say thanks again for watching, you guys. I'm back, and it feels great to be doing some prop builds with you guys. Stay tuned, because I have a lot more coming. All right, thanks again for watching, you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye now.